Were the Umis prepared for more Dakka? Can Bully Boyz be cunning? Is Green Tide gonna make a true rise? Now, welcome to WAAAGH Tactics, or WAAAGH Wednesday, where we're going to talk about the performance of the Orks this past weekend and how people are a bit, taken aback. Hey, maybe we're not so broken, or maybe we are. What happened at Adepticon? GW, where's the nerf? So let's get into it, you gets. Of course, there's a lot to say, but first, let's start off with our Baron of Dice, who allows us to do our paint competition. So thank you to the Baron of Dice for allowing us to, oops, and I pulled up something too quick. That was too quick. Oops, sorry. Hey, there you go. Baron of Dice, thank you for the high quality dice that allows us to do our paint competition. So check them out in the description for 5% off because nobody likes taxes. And shout out to Forge Fire Gaming. They have high quality dice for competitive gaming. I love how these actual bases can retain the actual terrain so it doesn't fall around and fall over, doesn't slide around. You can just pick it up, take proper measurements, and then put it back in place neatly. So check them out in the description as well. And of course, check out our paint competition to the gets out there. So get that out of here. So now we have Meta Monday. So the Orks are sitting at a 51% win rate, and More Dakka is sitting at a 53% win rate. But I will say roughly about one third of their player base did go X and 1, and then they had 13 players that went X and 1, but 12 of them were More Dakka, and then simply one of them was a Green Tide. So a lot of the player base was actually just playing More Dakka. 36 players were doing More Dakka. So yeah, so it wasn't one third of the total players. It was one third of the Dakka players were getting X and 1 is what I meant to say. So you can see at least a little lookout here. Tactical Brigade, some people keeping it clean with the 60 Green Tide. That person we're going to cover. We have Bully Boyz that had some success that we're going to cover as well. And then shout out to the Hunt and then Cult of Speed. But something I found kind of interesting here is how low the Warhorde had dropped. Like, Warhorde isn't bad by any means, right? Everybody can acknowledge that and accept that and knows that. But it's just sitting down here with only 6 players, only a 34% win rate. Makes me think that it's more about like the newer player base, people getting into events that maybe ran them. Is everybody else just conceding it's More Dakka now? GW, like we have been saying, has put us in a predicament. And I did put a poll out right now to the live chat. Do you guys think we're going to get hit with a nerf more sooner than later? And I'll just get straight to some of the things that I did get into contact with Matt Root, who was the player who played at Adepticon and ended up getting the best 6th place with More Dakka here. You can actually check him out on a live stream, and when he actually played into his last matchup which is against that Yanari. And everybody knows that that's pretty OP and has been doing quite well as this entire time. These Eldari. And Matt didn't end up taking this one. Shout out to the channel mod / my cousin right here, Christian Valley, getting 5th place though, by the way, with World Leaders. But Matt Root was had some things to say about Green Tide as a whole, but nonetheless, a couple things that he kind of had to say, but in conjunction, because the other org players that were there and all got together and kind of discussed how they felt about it. And just in short, they still feel that it's overpowered, definitely overpowered. The fact that the players were more prepared this week and that, they didn't actually take over every event doesn't take that away, because specifically they're more kind of overpowered in the mid tables, where a lot of the time people end up overexposing themselves, or that you're actually able to get your full, Dakka commitment into them. Now, Matt was running, a Beast Boss, Triple Sag, a War Boss, Zod. He did have a basic 10-man unit of boys, 3 trucks, 3 5-man units of flash gits, a big brick of Gretchen, a small Gretchen brick, 30 Ludas, Storm Boys, and then 3 tank busters. Kind of standard, a little different with the Snagga Boy stuff. That could be a bit of a tech piece people knew because going into day 1, everybody's playing on layout 1, or because they knew a lot of demon players were going to be out there. It was kind of common that a lot of the orc players that were at Adepticon had Snaggas to a certain degree. Now, What they would say is that a lot of the time, though, Zod is the real issue here, right? And this is something that we specifically pointed out right when I seen the rules and right when we talked about the WAAAGH strat. You can even go look at the video that we did with Mark Perry. We have Zod with the Chad Zod hanging out because we could identify that he was going to be the big problem right off the bat. Letting Zod just do whatever he wants, jail a bunch of people, turn one. This was like the first thing. Everybody was stuck on sustain 2, but if you've been around here, you know we're a fan of Zod, we're a fan of infiltrate with Orks, and a lot of the times people were overlooking just how potent it could be to take advantage of Orks jailing you on turn 1, and that's what ended up being the big issue. So everybody that's pretty much still playing More Dakka is thinking, yes, it's definitely overpowered, but it's not the strongest thing we've ever seen. The most broken elements of it is Zagra, and if that gets changed, the power of it gets immediately pulled back and can actually kind of get evolved and worked into the meta, because the enemy can work into us at that point if we don't have Zod just kind of manipulating everything. It could be that it's that simple. At the same time, they're not sure if it's so strong that GW is not simply going to leave it in place and just let it keep playing it out. So I think that, GW might actually have taken a breath to breathe and see if they're going to hit us with the nerf. But that's why I put the poll out there, because what do you guys got to say about that, right? I'm not going to go over all his exact win path to victory necessarily, because we don't even know if this is going to survive. And a lot of you guys already been seeing this. The whole metas, the whole Warhammer world kind of talking about how Orks are ugly, but we know that a lot of the time as Ork players that a lot of stuff gets ugly, but we're the ones that are getting banned. It can lead to a lot of different complex feelings in that case. But what I would say, like I've always told you guys, is we like to just have as much fun as we can with the Orks, understanding that we aren't necessarily the heroes or even the main bad guys in some people's eyes and look down on us as punching bags, but that doesn't take away from what our experience is in 40K, which a lot of the time we're just having a good time. And that means that just scaling your games back with your friends, if it means casual or league games. But if you're feeling down because your detachment, specifically your faction, you feel like got banned, just remember that it really was just one detachment, and there's a lot of other ones that still have great play. And that's why we always try to say that grow your collections in moderation. Don't really chase an exact list, that design that you see or archetype necessarily when you build out, but to kind of fully fledge out and get the kind of models and units that you actually are encouraged and to develop and become good with. That way you hone your actual baseline skill set and your understanding of the game, instead of simply chasing whatever is the next mathematically most efficient meta list. So that's why we're going to keep doing that today, which is why we're going to talk about the other players that performed quite well this last weekend. And the first person I want to go over is Tobas Storm. We're just call you Storm, homie. At the Fantastica, whatever that is number. Okay, where he brought the Bully Boyz. So let me pull that up real quick. So this was a event. Where was this? Actually, we got it off the top of my head. This was a. And how's the chat? This was in Sweden. Okay, that's what I thought. This was in Sweden, and it was an 85 player event. And so let's talk about my Gets Bully Boyz list, because can the Bully Boyz be cunning? So Tobas decided that he was going to show us what's up, where he brought a bit of Dakka and he brought a bit of infiltration. And of course, this is still with a live Dakka list that's actually out on this as well. I'll pull it up real quick, because at this event, the person who ended up winning it was a More Dakka Ork player, right? So he knew that More Dakka was going to be there, and he still brought him. He ended up going 3-1 and then 1. So he ended up taking a loss. This was a true he did end up getting 20-0 that last game, and we can talk about how that ended up possibly happening. And then he had a draw. So he almost made it to X1, and considering that how everybody else was just playing More Dakka and he still got here and got close, I thought it took consideration, because a lot of people are still enjoying playing something like Bully Boyz. I still totally think that they have play, especially if you're playing RTTs. But here, my get took him out to the GT, and this is why I'm saying, if you're chasing detachments and lists, if they take a huge nerf and you're stuck playing those guys, then someone like Tobas, as soon as that guy, the meta shifts, he'd be ready to run out and come out and top again. So let's see what he was thinking, being creative. We got Big Mac with shock attack gun. I like that he still brought that. We're seeing that consistently, where people are bringing that, and tank buses, if it's 1, if it's 2. into multiple different detachments. This is why GW needs to be very careful when they come and try to, nerf us. Well, they don't need to, but we hope that they are, because we don't need the units to get hit necessarily, right? Even the Ludos were doing absolutely perfectly fine and more breaking anybody's backs before More Dakka came out. Therefore, GW is, asking GW to be aware of that and not simply increase the points on all of our Dakka units. Really just take a time to look at the detachment and realize that maybe a mixture of limiting the rules and excluding some of the rules is a better way to approach that. So with that being said, we'd love to see the Mech Shock Attack Gun, Tank Buster still keeping it. Exactly. Morphic Dragon saying exactly what we're talking about right now. Kind of worried to buy more Tank Busters since they might eat another nerf due to the More Dakka. This is exactly what we don't want to see. But that's why even having one of them you get, that we're talking about right here, Dragon, if you got one, you got enough to keep going on this. So then we got Boss Snickrot, followed by a War Boss and Mega Armor with the Teleporter and enhancement. Now, I absolutely love that enhancement because a lot of the time, obviously, we're going to go first with Bully Boyz. But if you do end up going second, then you have a really nice tool piece with a Rapid Ingress Mega Boss. Then you just got another War Boss and Mega Armor. It comes into like, do you want gas or do you just want more stuff, right? And in this case, you want more stuff. So that's the real question. You're going to be cunning or you're going to have more stuff? And Bully Boyz. And this is what Tomas is doing. I like that he's teching into that. Gives you more options to win more matchups. Now you have 4 trucks, and then he went 2 units of Breaker Boys. As you can see, they have no leader. This is something that's contentious because I even seen a poll big, thing put out there on social medias and multiple platforms where they say, where would you take Breaker Boys? Warhorde or Bully Boyz or X without a leader? And a lot of the time, obviously, Warhorde is default because of Stain, but there is play in this detachment with Breaker Boy units simply because that they're going to get their wall off, which is the only time that they have, assured utility. And then you don't invest for the War Boss, then at least they become cheaper and you don't feel so bad if they don't really get the auto kill that you need them to on someone's big bad unit. But they still impose, their presence on the field and stuff to be respected. So I like that. At 140 points, it becomes very, very fun. Now, you has a 5-man unit flash kits, even if that's all you can get. It's a nice little SWAT team. Let you get in fights early, clear a little shooting up, maybe ends up doing secondaries for you. That 5-man flash kits matters. Even the 20-point difference between that and a burner boy unit is exceptional for the durability and its combat. Because yes, I know that your burner boys hit on -2 AP, but they're only hitting on 4s and only strength 4. So I like that. If you can, flash kits. You can't, burner boys fine too. 3 Gretchen, because you need more stuff in Bully Boyz, right? This is, do we need more stuff and do we need to be cunning with more stuff? These are the questions that Tobias was asking himself, and this is what he's coming to answer with. So he's brought max amount around your Gretchen. This is something that I've consistently been seeing. And we can see here that he actually somehow got away with only 1 unit of Storm Boys, right? That's a bit contentious sometimes, but if you can't fit them because trucks cost exactly the same, you can get away with just 1. It just feels a lot of time you're just like, I don't want to get away with just 1. So I appreciate that. What's up, Darth Maul? Whoa, to the chat. What's up, you gets, everybody? So pretty exciting out here because Bully Boyz still got it. They still got it, you guys. Can you appreciate how much a wall is freaking awesome especially when we can, how it changed into the start of our turn. So yeah, that actually matters a lot. Instead of battle round, that was really freaking annoying. Then here we got some more infiltration. He has a 10-man unit of commandos. He simply brought the claw and the breacher. Bam, nice and simple. So Snickrot and Mandos, simply usually not putting them together from what I've seen, but hey, some crazy kids get out there and do it. Because Snickrot, you're trying to keep him alive to actually score, but Mandos can be to offset your enemies based off whatever the deployments are and the mission and the matchup. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we can keep that in mind as we look at their path to victory. Then he has 3 Mega Knob units. One of them is the big brick. And could be the teleporter. Like I said, rapid ingress, fantastic for that. And the other thing that I thought was interesting here that I'm going to triple check is something that I've been, when we were doing Fix My List with this last week when people were like, well, what's going on with the War Boss and Mega Armor? And it's like, well, do I have to bring, make sure I was clicking the right guy. Do I have to bring Mega Bosses for every single Mega Knob unit? Sorry, guys, I was making sure I'm missing something. And I said, no, I can contested and I've played with, and I'm pretty, confident to say that you don't need every single Mega Boss unit to Mega Knob unit to have a boss applied to it, because in this detachment you can simply, on that first WAAAGH where you're committing kind of obviously the Breaker Boys and these other units, these guys are going to be, okay, well, I'm going to drop CP into reroll hits into this one unit. When you come to commit into them, then come my boss unit as the second wave, where I don't have to commit my leaders into the enemy when they're the strongest. But once the enemy kind of tries to through some of my assets, such as my leaderless Mega Knob unit, now I can respond with my 2 mega bosses and their damage 3 into what I hope is the more valuable unit. So the mega boss, the 5-man Mega Knob unit, you'll say, that doesn't have a leader, or maybe it's a 6-man unit decides to run that, right? Maybe you decide just to do that. I'm not even sure, but it's an option. You can play the game with a leaderless tank buster unit and it be a part of your first wave to draw enemies and to actually try to kill them. And it becomes that one unit that you can spend your stratagems on while everything else is getting in its simple skirmish fights. One tank Stormbolt unit and then one tank buster unit, like I said. Even if you only got one, guys, it makes a big difference in the game to get that enemy respect. And shout out to Jank. Whoa, what's up, you guys? You guys are popping in the chat. Are you guys still feeling up to it, right? You guys aren't discouraged by the fact that GW is out here making you sweat your painting in your hobby path, because you're like, man, what am I going to bring? You know, GW is out here, it's cooking me. Earlier I showed the wrong git with Stefan. I meant Tobas was this one right here, but Tobas did go 2-1-3-1-1 as I said. So let's go over his path to victory now. So first game, and these are all close games too. Look at this: 11, 10, 11, and then a 1, and then a 20. Besides his one loss. So he was up to it at the whole time, which I appreciate. My gig was working for them W's. Let's go for his first game, where he went into Chaos Space Marines, Fellhammer Siege Host. So we got Abaddon Despoiler, Chaos Lord Terminator Armor, and then Fabius Bio. I love Fabius Bio. If you haven't read the books, I suggest it to my fellow lore gits. So we have Cultist Mob, 2 5-man units of Legionnaires, 2 Rhinos, 1 Chaos Biker unit, a big brick of Chaos Terminators with auto Reaper 2 of them have the Reaper cannons. And then they have the mixture of Power Fist. A big brick of Chosen, a small unit of Chosen, and then a big old brick of Possessed. This is the bang it out elite army kind of matchup, right? Your fight on death will actually matter a lot. Who goes first and what your rapid ingress comes into play. Kind of killing everything else and not throwing your assets into Abaddon will make a big difference. And all those valuable 3 damage hits. Will this game, you can play this game multiple times. I bet you it can swing, because it's like, will my Breaker Boys actually crack back these Chosen and these Possessed? You know, a Fabian Bile makes them even higher toughness for their T6. You have to declare the wall so that your Breaker Boys are strength 7 to make a difference in that fight. So it's a really fun dynamic matchup. Let's see what that first. I'm pretty sure, guys, that and weirdly they actually had the missions right here in the front. But this was, yeah, here's the info you guys can see. I pull it up right on screen. So they were playing terrain map 1 and then layout 1 and 6. So for matchup 1, primary mission was take and hold, raise banners, and then tipping point. For that first one. So take and hold. Ooh, they're about duking it out, right? Just hold 5-5 and then skirmish out in the middle, right? The middle is where the most points can be played for them secondary. So you just got to be there. Then we're going to go into the second game, if we can pull that up right here. But you have to go back and forth before that. Maybe I should have busted out that second tab here. I'll have to duplicate it. So we're going to the second game now. The second game is actually where he gets that tie. He gets a tie, but based off of this scoring, this differential, it could be that he was simply, could have been within 3 points of each other and they'll still be deemed a tie. So let me get that second matchup. What's up, chat? What do you guys? I gotta check out that poll. Let me check out that poll. What you guys got to say so far? Dang, you guys got a 68% right now in chat saying that you guys are gonna get hit with a nerf. All right. I'm listening, you guys. Don't worry. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying. So we got his second game, which was going into the Tau Empire Monka. So we have Cadre Fireblade, and then Commando Shadow Sun. 2 units of Breachers. Pretty horrific to most Orkan units, especially if you're standing on objective, rerolling wounds, the amount of volume of fire. And then, of course, if they have their devil fishes, these guys are, running up the field, chucking these units. They can scout. That's where having all these infiltration matters. big. I'm sure. This game gets rough if you got no infiltrator. You guys trust me. If you're playing against a really proficient tile player that goes assets forward, disembark, makes a bunch of screens, and then really lay their guns into you and prolong the game. If you're playing Bully Boyz, that's really rough. So you need infiltration, which is awesome. You said, "What's up, Greenskins?" Yeah, it was good. So we have broadside battle suits, 2 units of those, ghost kill, and then a unit of carnivores, with another unit of crew riders. Shout out to crew riders, kind of cool. Pathfinders, little piranhas, 2 of those, 2 Riptide battle suits, a Scar Raid gunship, and then 3 minimum size unit of stealth suits with some Vespid. And yes, this is a lesson that I had to learn myself, guys. Even if they bring these stealth suits, I still, say that be somewhat aggressive, not throw them away, but place your commandos in a way that they can still come up and participate in the game. Don't be so taken aback because the enemy can put so many of these guys forward. That's really what they want. Like, a novice tile player will maybe be scared to go into you, because they're scared of actually losing so many assets and getting beat up and overwhelmed. But someone who in the combat phase and how not to get touched will actually kind of put their devilfish forward and kind of make you take options. Those little piranhas, they're like T6 with 7 wounds or something like that. Make you take battle shocks. Like they have all this little trash that can go up and just say, "Well, run into me." And when you do, I'm going to blow you away. So, and keep in mind, this is Purge the Foe, rough, right? Purge the Foe for Orks is like the bane of our existence. So kudos to him for pulling this off in a tie against Tau, because that takes good resource management to understand that I can't overkill them, because then I just run out of stuff and everything that's left over is just durable things, and I'm a Bully Boyz kind of army. So all my stuff that I use to kill them is expensive in itself, and that's why we're glad that you have assets in all these trucks, so you can get a lot of activations instead of just playing these big missile bricks in Bully Boyz. So he's adapted to this meta right here. The fact that he could pull off Purge the Foe against Tau is behoove you. And then it's search and destroy. So imagine if you're playing this, guys, not even more. Tau, remember, they have plenty of infiltration, plenty of scouting. And then now you're actually playing on search and destroy deployment, and you're playing something like a Bully Boyz. Let's say you're playing an OG Bully Boyz where you're just playing like a Gaz or just a bunch of big death ball bricks, and you didn't bring the Mando, you didn't bring Snickra. You're just kind of stuck there, right? Where they can just kind of box you in that corner, you fight your way out, and then they've taken all the lanes of fire, they've taken over the deep strike locations. If you end up going second, they can take over your rapid ingress places so that you don't have anyone to put a teleport up. So these are all big factors on why we constantly need you guys to push infiltration, even though it's kind of boring. And yes, our infiltrators are arguably overpriced. What they do for us just for the board state and board control matter. They impose, you're playing that one more phase of the game where you get to get a say on where you can even end up sometimes. So now we have so good job to that. Even though it was a draw. But on Purge the Phone, you guys know how rough that can be when you're playing Talos. But especially and then you were searching strike. So great job. I'm giving kudos to I'm saying Commandos helped a lot with that. So now we move on to his third game. Yeah, dude. Okay, what's up, Max? So I'll see you guys all up in here. Don't worry, I'll talk to chat in a second. Don't worry. Yeah, I see you guys responding to what I said. Yeah, no, I'm not arguing about what you guys think with chats. The question I have is how much of this nerf will happen? Is GW actually grounded enough? Are they just the fact that they haven't hit us already, like they hit Scatterstar? Because trust me, I'm not a Necron lover, right? I'm actually one. I love Crump and Necrons, absolutely love it. But they got hit before they even got to use that detachment to a certain degree, right? In any realistic sense. So the fact that they haven't hit it, does it mean they're like in a sense a little grounded? Are they gonna really just know that it's Zod and the WAAAGH and maybe limit sustain 2 to just walkers? Like if they did that, that'd be sick. And so many people would be happy about that. Like, or even if you're just like, well, blast, rockets can't get it, and you try to include some certain units, that'd be awesome. So now let's look at this third matchup where he still pulled off a W. AA Bexol. What you laughing at, dog? So we go to this third game. We got Blood Angels, Liberated Assault Group. We got Captain and Jump Pack, Mephiston, Commander Dante, and then Lamartis. Big brick of Assault Jump Pack, Jetpack Boaz, a 10-man brick of Death Company, followed by 2 Lancers. I feel like Ball Predators are a little better. I know they're not the same role. I'm very, very sure we're aware of that. I'm just saying for like the points and what they're doing for the list, pretty sick. Then he brings 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts. Oh, okay. And we're bringing those back, huh? A big brick of sanguinary guard, 2 scout. A little bit of an unusual list. Does have a lot of armor, a bunch of missile bricks, so they can get the initiative on you. But if you're playing, Tobas's formation of I have a bunch of trucks and infiltration, and this guy only has scouts, it's like, well, we can get kicked off, boys. We can get it kicking. This is where I like the 6-man unit, or sorry, the 5-man unit of leaderless meganobs. You can draw so many, valuable assets with just that one unit being placed in the proper position in the game. So let's see what actually mission they were playing, because I actually want to see real quick. What do you guys? Can I take you guys? I just want to make it. You guys, okay? Go ahead and chat. Tell me what you guys want to actually see, right? And then maybe I'll put a poll out if I see enough good options out here. What you guys want Dakka to be? Be realistic though. If you say something silly, I'll ignore you, but I'll giggle. All right. So, as for his third game, it was terrain map 3 and 5. Mission was terraform. Ooh. Then we got fog of war and sweeping engagement. Now terraform, boys, that's one where you got to kick it kicked off early. Again, that's where I like Mandos and Snick Route, specifically Snick Route, right? Because terraform, you actually have to survive. But if you even get one off, that for the rest of the game is giving you points, and you end up getting a differential, about 8-point differential, just from having one of those terraformed, right? There's been plenty of games where I've won the game because simply I terraformed and the enemy didn't. And remember, you don't have to kill their unit to stop the terraform, right? Now, people will think that's the first thing I have to do, but all you have to do to stop a terraform is to put enough OC on there to flip the control of the objective, and you'll turn off the terraform. So Snake Rod does help you with that, but if the enemy has the potential to go out there and touch and flip it with their OC, you should have a contingency for that. Sometimes the commandos having the ability to just box out that objective, and then Snake Rod being the lone op within the terrain piece to do it will make the differential here on terraform on this mission, on mission 3. And the thing is, that was also a let me see what that was. Yeah, and that was also a very close game. Let me pull this out for you kids. Where he was 11-point victory, right? Stomp of 700 points. I'm down for that. Because we still have to pay for the baby mech most of the time. Unless it's still sustained 2. If it's sustained 2, then you don't need a baby mech, I guess. Then we got, so yeah, great job there. Pulling that W out. I'm hoping that you were strategic and got that terraform off, and that made the differential. So then we're going into his loss. This is where he actually pulled off his one loss. It happens, but still, you're playing Bully Boyz. When you're playing Bully Boyz, it just happens. And Bully Boyz don't like Death Guard, right? Oh man, let's see what he got. If he got all those tools that we're hoping he doesn't have. So he has Biologist, Putrefier, Foul Blightspawn, Mortarion, and then Typhus. We have a big brick of Plague Marines. They're going to get their lethal 5+. They get plenty of special weapons. And then they also get fights first. They don't really effectively pick up Meganons, but those super wreck Breaker Boys that try to run out into the middle with Overwatch with their flamers, because our fat boy over here, which one right here, Foul Blightspawn with this plague launcher. So then he has one Rhino, obviously, for them. Then they got a firing deck on top of that as well, so they can stick those guns out and hose you down. One unit of cultists, and then he brings a bunch of predator destructors. Now, if he decides, because he goes, well, I don't really have to make you -1 to hit plague. Let's see if he has, because he doesn't have them. That's what I thought. He doesn't have Nurglings anymore, and then it doesn't work as an aura anymore. In this case, it's not so much if I got to make you -2 to hit. In this case, it's I treat you like a Space Marine. I make you reduce armor by, your armor saves by 1. Then I get some extra AP on you, and then I start just picking up your Meganobs. Then we have 1 unit of Death Shroud Terminators, 3 units of Blow Drones, and then 3 units of Plague Burst Crawlers. So a lot of armor, a lot of potential killy, and then nothing that's on this list is really effectively taking down or tying down Mortarion. So that's where these big breaks of 20 boys come into play. Even if Zod is not in this detachment, can come into play. Oh, I thought Jank said let's see some let's see some boys, but he said let's see some likes. Yeah, what's up, Jank? But I was gonna say let's see some boys. This is where we were looking at last week, right? Because this is a continuous lesson. Last week we were seeing how different orc detachments were playing with multiple 20-man units of boys, and that was to bog down units like Mortarion in these matchups where you can't kill everything. And I'm still subject to think that a 20-man unit of boys can go quite some ways. It's just what you end up cutting for them, right? So 1 point in there. So it's quite a swingy game. Let's see what it was. Let's see what that fourth mission was. Okay, it was Scorched Earth, map terrain 2 and 8, tipping point, swift action. Okay. Scorched, and from the differential of the points, though, it just seems like he didn't really get going at any point. But it's all good though, because he made it back up for his last game. In his last game, he chewed someone up with the big old 20. He went into another orc player. Boy, he went back and snatched some teeth from some fellow orc boy. Now, no shame on this get. It's a good fight when you do an orc player, and someone having 2 WAAAGHs could definitely be rough. So we have Gazgul Traka, followed by 2 war bosses, and then 2 war bosses in mega armor, 2 10-man unit of boys, 4 trucks, 2 minimum size unit of Gretchen, flash kits, 1 minimum size unit of Gretchen, some Mandos as well. Like to see that. You get good job. 2 5-man units of Mega Knobs, and then 2 Mega Knobs for Gaz. 2 5-man units of Knobs, and then Storm Boys. So he kind of wants to do what the Bully Boys were doing in this case. And I think the momentum of I can put my first wave into you, call one to clean up my first wave, and then I call one after you and kind of pick you up is, kind of how that could end up going. So no shame in that, no harm, no foul. But great job to Tobas. Let's see that Bully Boys being a little bit more cunning with that infiltration and just bringing more stuff, right? And I'm into that. I think it does require, piloting and patience and understanding. But I think a lot more orc players should consider the other detachments if you're just really, really discouraged right now of More Dakka and you're not really trying to play with your nerf stuff. But if you want to add additional supplemental shooting that you've unlocked or the new kill teams that you've got, go ahead and just start plugging into these other detachments. They still go far, and I really don't think GW is going to hit the data sheets, to be honest. I think they're really aware, just like they are with Tactical Brigade, it's mostly the detachment's fault. So this is the kind of list that I encourage you guys to innovate. The innovation that we've talked about when I was doing Fix My List, and I made someone a list of Bully Boys, and I said, trust me, you can run Mega Knobs without a leader. We're seeing that now in activation and play again. So a lot of you guys, have fun with them Bully Boys, get stuck inland, and great job, Tobas. Whoa, we move on. And now it comes down to how much Dakka do we need in the Green Tide? Now, this is another, what I want to call, an archetype that we've been calling the group swim, brought to us by our boy Noah, right? And actually, if you're a channel member, check that out. We did a video with Noah himself, who is the founder of this archetype, who was already won events with this, won his golden ticket. And then another player from Finland, and Nicholas, took it to a WTC event where they're running like rules with WTC scoring and such, and he ended up taking the same archetype of talking about group swim, and he ended up as well winning a golden ticket with that. So we've seen that this is a very proficient list, but it comes down to, well, if we were to tweak that, which is totally fine to do, because when the video we did with Noam, who was the founder of the archetype, he goes, now it comes down to how do we tweak it and keep adjusting it as the meta evolves. That's what Christopher Johnson himself was kind of developing, and now we can look at how it went with his results. And even though it didn't go necessarily the way that he wanted to at this event, it actually gave good insight, because a lot of people kind of want to know what's going to happen if you got to deal with, Astra Militarum, for example, because the name of his list was, did you bring enough guns, Umi? And shout out to Gary. What's up, Gary, homie? He said, biggest nerfs to tank buses is you can't buy them from GW. yeah, shout out. That's the biggest nerfs to tank buses. You just can't find them. Yeah, I mean, GW just loves doing that, right? And then oh man. So let me clear some of these tabs up he gets. I'm still super encouraged, man. I love Orks. Of course, I might be a little bit biased, but I think it's so crazy how we have so many playable detachments, and I understand why people are frustrated, because the hobby aspect, like Gary just said, like you can't even get that stuff, right? But the point is that, and the people who want to play with shooting, right? People who just want to actually enjoy the Dakka guns, they're scared to get, stuck in the hobbying and actually invest their time and their money into these units, or even learning the rules. So I understand that predicament putting us in. So I don't mean to, dismiss your guys' frustration. I understand that completely. I got my Ludas painted up, and I'm just kind of like, whatever. They're just sitting over that table. I'm like, whatever. I don't even feel like, people being discouraged from all the Ludas. It's like, whatever. But that doesn't stop us from having fun with such stuff like Green Tide and still seeing the success, because Green Tide's just been stoking along. And more and more people do I see online, they're like, how do I play this? How do I get started? It's a very different style of playing Orks, yet it's very successful. It has the stereotype, or stigma for being just for teams, but we're seeing it more and more coming out in singles, and there'll be 2 to 3 players that are running tied in a weekend, and then one of those players inevitably goes X and O, right? It's just X and 1, and so great job by you, Christopher. Let's take a look at your slight adjustments. And yeah, we'll talk about that. And don't worry, chat, I'll talk to you guys real quick. I'll talk to you guys right after I talk about his list, because I see you guys popping off right now. So we have 2 Big Macs with shock attack guns, 3 Pain Boys, 3 War Bosses, and then a Weird Boy. Very heavy on the characters, because he also did pay for the enhancements. So he put Bloodthirsty Belligerents, Ferocious Show Off, and then Brutal but Cunning, right? Which I'm down for it. I like, those are all good enhancements. But the thing is how many characters he has, and what we would call the group swim archetype, you're roughly about 5 or 6. There's nothing wrong with going full deep in, because you can see he's really strengthening all the bricks of boys that he brought. So he has 1 truck, and he brought 4 big bricks of Ork Boys, and then a 10-man unit of Ork Boys. So the 10-man unit does for sure have play, guys. When I play my Tide, and I decide, hey, maybe I want to take this 10-man unit of Ork Boys out for something else, or for more killy or whatever. No, those 10-man unit boys totally work. For they stand in the way to block something from killing you that it wants to kill. They bait an enemy fight early. They maybe take a big charge and swing an objective early. Or they just kind of play the middle of the table and try to get you some kind of scores, or get stuck in with everybody else that are these big mobs, right? And because a lot of the time with Tide, it's kind of like blocking the enemy from fully engaging your Tide to get enough units in to kill you as well. So we have 2 minimum size unit of Gretchen, 2 Storm Boys, and then 2 Tank Busters with both rocket pistols. So the difference here on his group swim archetype is that he just went full elite, right? He just said, what if I fully invest in all these guys are worth their points and what they do, and can I just straight up munch through you with a little bit more brute force? And I actually respect that. I find it actually kind of really appealing to just our general senses of Ork players, because if you're playing the other style of this where you don't play the characters, you end up playing flash kits and playing SWAT teams, and you have some trucks. Well, the tank busters might not kill anything, the flash kits might have no really good targets, and then you've really not done anything. And then the additional points, instead of bringing more characters, maybe those units aren't really giving enough in their investment either, like a second chuck or whatever it may be. And what we're missing here that typically is brought a lot of the time on green Tide lists would be something like a commando unit, right? Commando unit makes a big difference in the green Tide for not just your bad matchups, but your mobility. Your weird boy can definitely fail. Even if you bring multiple weird boys, if you're bringing the ability, it means you can only try the attempt of that data sheet once per turn. That means even if you're multiple weird boys, you can't do it. So the Mandos make it so you actually have a space to come in from. So he's forgetting all of that, all those tactical plays, just for more muscle. So I appreciate that. No shame in that. And why I thought it was interesting was because he immediately got to catch the smoke that he was looking for, and that's proper Orky view you get. Now, before we do that, let me take a look at some of these chats, because you guys are going off and I don't want to get drowned, even though I'll talk about it at the end. So we got you get saying, yeah, slowly picking it up. You're losing as more Dakkas. You assume that because of the nerfs, we're gonna get hit bigger than we want to get hit. But at the same time, everybody's pretty sure that they're gonna learn how to attack us, and it's very true. Make it sustain 1 and +1 to hit. Sure, just make us like a weird version of Tactical Brigade. And then we have 2 CP for the WAAAGH strap. And let's say they kept it to 1. What if they just said, well, you don't get your data sheet ability, you just get the WAAAGH ability? Would it still be as equally as broken? Could we get away with keeping it for 1 CP, but you just turn off the data sheet ability? That means like your Mega Knobs don't get a 5 of Feel No Pain. So that does make off the gas thing less appealing. But just saying, just for conversation, just food for thought. Where can I find that War Horde list? I have 1K now. Yeah, you can find them in our Discord or on Best Coast Pairings. If you're finding out any of those lists and how they're doing. But yeah, dude, if you're getting started, War Horde's a great job. So I think you're doing good by pursuing War Horde. Just collect a little bit of everything. Get proficient with understanding combat rules, hits, how to roll, how to be good with dice. Because War Horde is just a good rule set that's been set in stone for us since like 8th edition, where it's like sustained hits we've been getting for a long time. So welcome to the wall you get, and hopefully the videos for new players help with that I have. If not, give me bad critique and a thumbs down and tell me what I did wrong. All right, and then we have yeah, don't worry. If you did suggest for fix my list, I have to select certain people and different attachments, and channel members go first. But thank you, Jacob, and don't worry. We do fix our list every like month or so. And what's up, Christian? Back in stock the shock attack guns for one more hour. An hour. Shout out to you guys, and shout out to our get Andrew Stone. WAAAGH is the best. Yeah, dude, very supportive of you. You hit me up on Discord. I've been trying to talk to you. I don't know your Discord account. Let me know when now. I was prepared for this. I thought about that today before the stream. I'm like, if Andrew is back and I see him and talking in chat, let me talk to you on Discord. You get so thank you for the support. Very, very loving of you, and it means a lot. It really does. Very generous. And golf is the best. That's what we're looking at with the Bully Boyz right now, right? But now we're at the Green Tide. So Christopher said he wanted to smoke. You can say it right here, guys. I'm not talking smack. His list name is "You Should Have Brought More Dakka, Umi." So that's his list name, right? And unfortunately, when you bring a skew and when you go full in, you get a lot of good results because Mike get great scores. He got a 100, a 92, an 88, and a 92. But that first game, he caught the smoke because someone didn't have enough Dakka, and it was Astra Militara, Hammer of the Emperor. So we've all been there, right? Where you're like, this awesome list, and if only the enemy just most likely doesn't have enough tools for this, and then boom, they have just the right matchup. You're like, oh, dude. And then but I like that you kept finishing strong. You ended up getting great scores overall with your Tide. So it was great to see. But I thought it was interesting because you went for like full throttle killing, and it didn't, pan out at least on this first game. But I do actually know what these missions were, so we can talk about it as we go through this. So we have Gaunt's Ghost, Lord Solar Leontis, 2 Rogel Dorn commanders, and then a Tech Priest engines here, followed by 1 unit of Cadian shock troopers, 2 10-man unit of Catachan jungle fighters, a Chimera, 2 Toroxes, a Kazarkin unit, an exterminator, a executioner, a vanquisher, a little Ogren squad, followed by a Scout Sentinel squad. So my boys all bricked up with vehicles. Very, very hard to chop through these as an Orc player and get to them in time before they've just taken enough meat out of you. But in this case, it's just I'm almost wondering if he like committed with his tank busters early into like a suboptimal target and then ended up getting them killed, or if one of these units that was in a Torox was actually able to get maneuverability to one of those trucks and then disembark and then pop those tank busters. And then if that's the case, then all of these tanks get to kind of just get free play into the Orc units. Now, I still found it kind of interesting when he ended up not, it's not that it was a bad, because sorry, I should say what the mission is first. Not that it was a bad score because he got 65 points. It was mission C, and these were on layout 6. So I didn't pull out layout 6 because I actually did bust this out for you kids. Oop, that was ugly. I should have. Oh, oops, placed the wrong thing. Sorry, I busted out for you guys, and I should look earlier real quick. Let me fix it real quick. But it was layout 6. Yeah, okay, I did have that. It was layout 6 for this day 1, and then day 2 was all layout 1. So his first mission was mission C, was his linchpin, fog of war, and tipping point. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back. All right, so let me see if I can zoom in this because it's a little ugly. All right, cool. Fantastic. Yeah, so for Astra Militarum, tipping points, layout 6. This is what he was playing on most on that day 1. This is, they have plenty of line of sights. If you look from, if I had my little pen, guys, I'm trying to make my epic pen work and it did not work. There are lines of sight here that you can just simply shoot all the way down the table towards the middle, towards into like right past when you start breaking that middle line safe zone. I wish I had the pointer right there. So there's, if you at the very top, if they were deploying a tank in this top right corner, and you could just simply peek that corner, you can shoot all the way down to the Orc player that staged, let's say, a vehicle at the bottom left corner, or if he's trying to fix where that little eye, that eye is saying no, you can't go. If that's eye right there, that's another line of fire for simply staging in that one top right corner with one vehicle. So there's plenty of great spots on this layout 6 for like a Rogel Dorn to post up if it wants to, especially if they're able to use the Torox Prime to run up, disembark your tank buster units and then kill them, and then have the tank bust the Rogaldorns not have anything to respect, because 65 points means that he was scoring quite well. Linchpin typically means, like, if an Orc player, if you want to get to their primary home objective at all costs, you just turn off the game, even if it's one, because we love that, especially if you're playing Green Tide. Like, that's where you attempted to jump. But a lot of the times, if you don't have commandos, then your jump options are less, which means if he has Catachans and he can scout up the field, then he ends up taking that space from you. So it's if my Epic pen marker was working right now, I would have pointed that out. The lines of fire I was trying to point out there, but yeah, this Green Tide takes some finesse, and if you start losing assets early that maybe the enemy needs to respect, or if you just don't have enough activations, you can even lose out on scoring secondaries. And I very, very much encourage anybody that's looking to play Green Tide to put commandos on their list. I think Christopher probably played this game quite well, and he's went out to win a bunch of different, score very well in the best of his games. But I think commandos just means you don't have many options into these gunline armies where you can't take up the space. They get to take all the firing angles, cause you to commit into the their chaff and their screens, and then they get to punish you at will. And then once they've dwindled you down, they can go and kind of bully the tanks and just touch those objectives, which respectable OC, and then still shoot you when you're dwindled enough. So yeah, after your wall, then your war bosses aren't really killing to them anymore. So it's all good. It's hard. Or Ashram Tarm's that one list that can bring enough guns, right? So it just happened. So let's go on to his second game, where he ended up getting a nice 100-point win. He went into the Necrons Awakened Dynasty. Love to see that, dude. Yes. Green Tide running over Necrons. So we got Chronomancer, Void Dragon, Hexmark Destroyer, Luminor Caesarea, Scorpec Lord, Technomancer. Unit of Immortals, a big brick of Wraith, Death Marks, 2 Doomsday Arcs, Flayed Ones, 2 individual Locust Heavy Destroyers, 3-man unit of Scorpec Destroyers, and then small unit of Tomb Blades. So this is one of those matchups where you're blood surging when the enemy's trying to really focus fire you down. And you're like, well, if you get too close, I'm blood surging into you, I'm blood surging out of line of sight, and then I'm regenning. Your Catan. Your Catan, the Void Dragon, has no great targets. I'm going to bog him down. He's not going to matter anymore. Your Wraith Brick can give you issues as an Orc player where you start duking it out, but if you commit multiple, you can still outsee them. If you get there first, you can base them out. But most of the time, you're just trying to kill everything else and like tag the Doomsday Arcs and such. And you are happy that, like, if your tank busters just go off and pick these guys up, obviously, right? The fact that you can wound them on 2s is amazing. It's like their favorite target when tank busters can actually wound something on 2s. So a big 100-point win there. Love that. Then he goes into his third game with Town Empire, experimental prototype cadre. He has Shadow Sun, Cold Star Battlesuit, Enforcer Suit, Ethereal, 2 units of Breachers, 1 unit of Starsight Battlesuits, Sunforged Battlesuits, 2 Ghost Keels, a Carnivore, Pathfinder, Piranha, Riptide, Starray Gunship, and then 3 minimum size unit of Stealth Suits with the unit of Vespid. Gotta love those little Vespid, right? But he still dunked on them with a 92-point win as well. I'm thinking he went first and then he just stuffed it into them, right? Hard to say there. Christopher was just out for vengeance after that first game, which I would be too. You show up to an event ready to go and you're like, oh, Hoomie's barely took the loss there, and then kept it going. Oh, sorry. And the second game was Mission L. It was Take and Hold, Hidden Supply, Search and Destroy. Mission 3 was Terraform, Stalwart, Crucible of Battle, these are all layout 6 for the day 1. So now we're gonna move. Did I do this get third game? I don't think I did. Yeah, I did. So Tau was his third game, which is Terraform. Like I said about Terraform, which I gotta say again, if you're playing Terraform, you gotta make sure you at least get one of those off. If you're playing Green Tide, you need to stage up right on the line so that you can not right on the line necessarily, don't die, but somewhere where you can actively get onto at least one objective to try to terraform, possibly 2. It makes a big difference in the long term of the game of how much of primary you're getting there. Then we have day 2. So day 2, his fourth game was layout 1, mission A, which is Take and Hold, Raise Banners, and Tipping Point. So let's take a look at that. Oh yeah, Breachers, right? Breachers freaking wreck Orc boys if you're on an objective. And I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, Maximus. Now for Breachers, a good way to handle them if you're playing with the Green Tide is, 1, don't actually stand on the objective with your mob. Yeah, that sounds weird, but actively stand around it And when the enemy goes to shoot you with, one of its transports or whatever it would be, you can pull yourself out of line of fire. And then when you come back to your turn, you can regen back onto the objective and regen bodies. So you're going to actively expose some of yourself, so the enemy will commit to you. You don't put yourself on the objective. When they do somewhat put some commitment into you, then you regrow back onto that objective between the strat and the pain boy. And then in that case, you retain your primary, but you didn't give them the offensive buffs to push you off the objective and delete one of your units. So thank you for saying that. And that's why we do that live. This is exactly why we do that. Thank you. I mean, that's another tip for your plan. You're playing Green Tide. So then he goes into his fourth game where he's going into the Eldari with his in Yavrin, or the Yanari with the Incarn. This is one of those things that we've been talking about with Noah. If you're playing them with Green Tide, this feels like a very winnable. So Yankarn, 2 Artarks, Storm, Guardian unit, Dark Reapers, 2 units of Fire Dragons, 2 units of Howling Banshings, Striking Scorpions, 2 units of Warp Spiders. Oh, sorry, 3. Yeah, 3 units of 5 Warp Spiders, 2 Warlock Skyrunners, 3 Wraith Lords, and then a Wave Serpent. Big old fat Wave Serpent getting blown up from those tank busters. So from that one, he ended up getting an 88-point win there. And then going into, and that was, yeah, like I said, taking hold, raise banners, tipping point. Yeah, I favor that one for Green Tide into Orks, into Eldar all day. And then for his last game, it was K, which is layout 1, Scorched Earth, Stalwart, Search and Destroy. This was against Talons of the Emperor. So not as killy as other detachments, but we have triple Blade Champions, 2 Gravis tanks, 3 units of 5 Wardens, and then 2 units of Venatari Custodians, followed by 2 Witch Seekers. Now, what I will say is, even though on the other matchups, I was not sold on the tank busters, and I was like, man, I'm not sure if I feel like you should pay for those. This is one of those matchups where you are happy that you paid for it. Sorry, I'm not for the shock attack gun. You were happy you had the tank busters, but the shock attack guns. Because you can possibly, if the enemy makes a bad play, pull a commitment from the Wardens to pop their Field No Pain, so they don't get picked up, and they might not know the math or whatever it may be, or they'll be worried about it. But this gives you an option to kind of pull that out and then just bang it out in the middle with whatever units are left for playing that. Like I said, it's Scorched Earth, so that is a very much objective heavy. We got to fight it out. Everybody's going to have good primary that game. Let's see what we get for secondaries. 92-point win there. And great job by Christopher with his Green Tide. So double Big Mac shock attack gun, triple Pain Boy, triple War Boss, and a Weird Boys. Only 1 truck, 4 20-man units of boys, 10-man unit of boys, 2 minimum size unit of Gretchen, 2 Storm Boys, and then 2 units of tank busters with the pistols. So with that being said, can the Orks keep up with the new meta? Will the new Predators rise? Or will everybody be brought down crashing with GW nerfs and the whole meta will be brought back into a peaceful, reasonable zone? Absolutely not, because we know 3 new detachments are going to be coming out here in a couple weeks anyways. So be prepared for chaos, inevitably, maggots, because if you're playing competitive 40 play, this is the nature of the game. Not that I want you to be unhappy, but to understand that, yes, if you're new, GW constantly does these sort of things where things feel a bit unfair or unlikely or unlikable, and it's upsetting. That's why we promote that you pick what level and pace of 40K you want to play, and then become most proficient and enjoyable of that. Whether it's league games, whether it's crusade games, whether it's casual RTTs every couple weekends to get games in a row. There's plenty of ways you can enjoy the hobby. If you're getting discouraged because More Dakka might get nerfed, well, don't worry. I don't think GW is too keen on nerfing all of our data sheets right now. It looks like they'll most likely focus on the detachments. And even in that case, I don't really promote, as from collector to collector with advice here when you're playing Orks, is not to go 3-3-3 into one certain detachment one certain unit anyways. A lot of the time, having 1 or 2 of each and then just building on and collecting more stuff will be, will feel pretty good. You can always play Warhorde, you can always play a couple of the different other detachments, and learn the rules really well and not really chase like an archetype or design that we even show on the channel necessarily. It's helped to give you an idea of what to build into or towards if you already have the models, or if you already built on collecting some of those units and how they maybe are used or optimized with other combinations or supplementary units in the same list. So it's a lot to consider when you're playing 40K, but I feel you. I'm with you. I sympathize with you guys and anybody who's kind of discouraged for what they have. But orcs aren't the army that are sad, because in the far future where there's only war, orcs are the only ones having fun. So let's keep it that way it gets. So there's always one thing to keep in mind is don't cross our wall, because we'll knock your teeth out. Whoa!